Hello everyone and welcome to Getting Stuff Painted, my bi-weekly update, give or take, on the various miniatures that have been getting painted for the games we play here on the channel. If you notice the camera moving there, it's because we're continuing on the trials and tribulations from the last one of these videos I filmed, where my dog takes this as a moment to throw a ball against the tripod in an effort to make me throw it. I can prove it, in fact, if I lean down. You see this? It's the same ball as last time as well. I assure you these are not filmed back to back. It has been 2 weeks, maybe a bit longer than that actually. Anyway, we're going to be talking about what's been painted, starting with what I'm going to classify as Don't Look Back, even though it's technically not, but we'll get into that in a second. Big old chunk of Batman the miniature game with a little bit of DC Universe mixed in. Well, I say a little bit, that's all there is. The rest of it is the DC Universe miniature game, including a whole load of chunk of Green Lanterns. And we'll finish talking about it at the end there. I also have something to show and a little story to tell as well. But first of all, we'll talk about the painted miniatures. Again, going from left to right with copious breaks for me to throw this ball for my over energetic dog. So we'll talk about all three of these minis in turn. These are not official Don't Look Back miniatures, but I got them to use in Don't Look Back since they give you a criteria or a layout for 8 different killer archetypes, stereotypes from horror movies, and they have miniatures you can use. They have little horror packs that you can buy that have just, well, they look very similar to actual serial killers. But these 3 miniatures I actually got, I think it's from Klukva Miniatures they're called. It's a Russian 3D printing website that flies fast and loose with copyright law. So they have a little section about horror. They've got some Dead by Daylight killers in there, if you're familiar with that video game. And they have some other video game killers and some movie killers. So I picked up the one that was most apt for Dead by Daylight, which is Jason Voorhees. I think this model was based on the 2009 movie, so that's why he's kind of got the shorter but puffier jacket. This is struggling to get in focus a little bit. He came with a few mask options. I went for the one that made him look the most lumpy, so he looks like Part 9. And he could also have been wielding, instead of a machete, an axe, or Freddy's hand, as a reference to Freddy vs. Jason, but I didn't want him wielding the hand, so instead I trimmed down the hand a little bit, and now have Freddy's glove coming up out the ground, like in, was it Jason Goes to that word? I think it was. So, Militarm green for his jacket, Space Wolves grey for the denim jeans, a little bit of Blood Angels red, but a lot of Blood for the Blood God, get that blood effect on, and again some textured grass which I then dribbled the Blood for the Blood God on top of for Jason Voorhees. So off-brand Jason will be featured in Dead by Daylight. Don't Look Back will be making a comeback. I was waiting for these arriving. They took quite a while to arrive, and then I had to obviously get them painted up, but it will be returning, and I did manage to secure some other official expansions for it as well. So these are obviously based on characters from video games. We have Pyramid Head from Silent Hill, and we have, his official name is the Keeper, I think, from the Evil Within games, but I always called him Boxface when I played those. But either way, also apparently they're a couple, if you believe Google image searches. Don't Google it. So, a lot of Leadbelcher Silver for Boxface, aka the Keeper. A little bit of, well, I forgot, I'm blanking on the name of the brown I always use. It's not Wildwood, it's the other one. Oh, no, I'm blanking on it. That's going to annoy me, but I used it for the handle, the crate, and his sack of body bits. Now, this came with modelling options to make him have tentacles come out of his face, because if he grabs you in the game, tentacles come out of the safe on his head and devour you, if I remember correctly. Snakebite leather, that's what I was blanking on. Again, copious amounts of Blood for the Blood God to make it look like his gore sack is kind of like slapped against his butcher vest. But to make it look like it's drier, add some Blood Angels red with water on it while it's still wet, just to really tone it down, just so it looks like old stains. Pardon me while I throw a ball again. There we go. And then just grey for his trousers, black for his boots. But yeah, really high quality. Like, they do really high quality prints. Utterly flying in the face of copyright law, but they're still very high quality prints. A lot of similar colours used for Pyramid Head. I think I used Flesh Terror Red for the actual pyramid itself. Grey Seer base, which has been used for everything here, just with a wash of Agras Ursaid presumably over the top, with Blood Angels, not Blood Angels Red, Blood for the Blood God, all down him. His sword is very large, and not attached to that securely. It's just two little pips right there on the hilt. So we've got to be a little bit careful with that. and Skeletal Horde for the rags he's wearing as well. So they're on the standard killer sized base, those two. Box face is not, so he'll have a little bit of an unfair advantage when he's on the table, but I got it just so we'd have thematic killers. You can use any model you want for the killer in Don't Look Back, because you have the stat cards, that's all that matters. So you're allowed to play around with the idea a little bit. So before we move on, I'd just like to point out that the balls are multiplying. There's now 2 of them, because she was getting impatient. Next up, we'll go to the Batman stuff. I put in a little order for some Batman stuff that I wasn't super fussed about getting one way or the other. Found them at a fairly decent price. So let's start with the 3rd edition release of the Riddler, based on the Jim Carrey Riddler. Sitting in his throne, the one with Intel support, kind of hanging around on his Thinker statues. Turned out okay. I didn't want to try and do the question marks on his costume because you have to hand paint them. The indents on the actual model itself are not good enough to catch paint. So I used a lot of Warp Lightning with Nurgling Green dry brushing. The statues themselves is Skeletal Horde with Agrax Earthshade over the top. And the purple is Gene Stealer Hide, not a contrast paint for that one. And Griffin Orange for his ginger hair. And I did a dry brushing of Nurgling Green over the base there to make it look like it's kind of lit up with his riddle markers and whatnot, but that's just on top of Basilicanum Grey and Agrax Earthshade. And then his hidden little box of riddles back here. Nazdrag Yellow for the yellow parts, Warp Lightning for the green parts, and a wash over the top as well. Very impressive looking miniature, very fun that it's referencing the Jim Carrey Riddler. Yes, I am bending over to grab the ball again, to throw the ball. Fun, and plays a little bit differently because he is an Intel support miniature. So we'll see that next time the Riddler crew's on the table. Next we have Psycho Pirate, who is an interesting one on the table because he takes up a very valuable slot. He's a free agent, but he's very cheap. He's only 50 rep. And he creates aura bubbles of debuffs. I think it's 8 inches, maybe 12. But because he takes that free agent slot, I don't think he's considered particularly interesting. Unless you have someone who's charismatic, I guess. But I think it might be an interesting thing to have on the table just because he has those various buffs and debuffs in an aura around him, because he has emotional manipulation powers for anyone who looks at him. And I'm not sure what the entire the reference is to the Flash, that the Flash's costume is on his base. I guess maybe he defeated the Flash by telling him not to be the Flash anymore or something. I'm only familiar with him from the City of Bane storyline, but either way, he was released a while ago. Picked him up. Blood Angels Red, Black Templar, and Nazdrag Yellow for the Golden Mask. That's about it for him. Something else I picked up, which I wish I'd picked up sooner, is the old JCPD SWAT team box, which used to come with a version of Jim Gordon that let you take all 3 of them because they have elite SWAT boss or whatever special. The rule where if you don't have a boss that has the elite SWAT rule, which that Gordon did, you can only ever bring one of them, and you only ever bring Lorita because Lorita is towing an exceptionally powerful gun, which is rare in Batman crews because they're not usually about killing, but it's like Double Blood, Assault, Red Dot. It's relatively cheap considering. So that kind of leaves Foxtrot and, I've forgotten the one with the taser's name, out to dry because that Gordon got made eternal, so you can't use it anymore, and they stopped selling it in the box. Either way though, picked it up cheap. I did try and track down the version that had Gordon in the box, but sadly I could never find it. Lots of Black Templar used on all of them. Ultramarines blue with the dry brushing on top of Calgar blue, and a wash of Nuln Oil as well. The taser was a Yandin yellow, and their badges are Nazdrag yellow. Speaking of which, I'm never satisfied with yellow paint in general. Is a frustration for a lot of people. I think I'm going to be trying a few different yellow paints in an effort to find a solution to actually getting a decent yellow paint somewhere down the line. We'll see if it pays off, and if it ever does, I'll talk about it in this series for sure. So yeah, 3 random SWAT people. This one is the only one you're ever going to see in lists that are trying very hard, rather, not very difficult, trying very hard to win. She's a very, I don't know what they are. They're called Lorita. That sounds like a feminine name to me, but I might be wrong. Either way, Lorita is the one you take. The other 2, I've used Foxtrot once and he did fine. Haven't used the other one, but yeah, that's the competitive one right there. Something isn't right here. Spot the difference. Anyway, next we have another model I passed up at the point it was released because I didn't have faith in their resin holding it together with how he is on the base. But now I know better because the resin is bendy, so it's not as dangerous to have a model that's only connected by such a thin bit of section there. Killer Moth. Not super happy with how the paint job came out really, but best effort to try and match the official paint job. So we've got some Gene Stealer hide in there again. Mixture of Warp Lightning and Gryph-hound Orange for his pants, and the wings is obviously the orange as well. A dry brushing of one of the Citadel orange paints on top. Can't remember its name. It's not really that visible anyway. And then the base, which I presume is like, it's weird that it's a circle of stones. I don't know if that's a reference to them. I've not read any stories with Killer Moth in them. I only know him from the pilot of the Batgirl spin-off show to the 60s Batman that never aired. But either way, he's got a circle of stones around him, and that is just Basilicanum Grey with a wash over the top as well. He's considered a very good free agent in the game though. I've used him digitally once I think, and had him used against me a couple of times. So we'll see him in the future list and see how he does. Oh, balls magically appeared at my foot again, imagine that. Anyway, you'll already have seen him in a battle report that I think went live yesterday, the DC Universe miniature game, which is what we're into now, because none of these, well actually no, Lobo can be used in Batman as well, so we're still kind of mixing. But Zombie Superman, one of the deceased boxes releases that was not advertised as just being quote unquote skins, but is not an actual character, does not come with a stat card, is also having trouble focusing. I think that's in focus now, maybe? I don't fully believe that it is. Yeah, there we go. I would say that is now. So it's the usual Superman colours that I've talked about every single time I've shown off a Superman miniature, with the exception of there being excessive amounts of blood for the Blood God draped all over him because he's a zombie. Even though he's technically not that type of zombie, he's a anti-life equation zombie, but whatever. So Blood Angel's red, Talisar blue, a little bit of a Yandin yellow. His skin is just aggressor shade over Gracier, because again they're very pale faced, and a little bit of blood splattered on the base. I like the model. As someone pointed out in the unboxing where I showed this off, it'd be a very good model to convert into Bizarro. If you wanted a Bizarro, just use a Superman stat card. Nice model, first one of the zombies I painted. Still got the zombie, Aquaman, Wonder Woman and Flash to do at some point, but there was a special scenario that came to mind using that miniature after I finished painting it. And as I say, I think that went live on the channel yesterday if you want to go check it out. I know not many people are interested in the DC Universe game, but I thought it was neat. So last but not least, this is the old Lobo miniature that was available for both Batman and the DC Universe miniature game. I picked him up on eBay super cheap, the version of him on the Space Hog as well. Didn't really match up his skin tone to the official paint job, although any like cartoon or comic I've seen him in, it has been more blue than the purple they've gone with, so I don't know, but that's just Draken something or other, the blue wash that Games Workshop does over Gracier for skin tone. Copious amounts of Black Templar, Lead Belcher Silver, and Null Oil over the top. And he has his adorable puppy there, on top of a Throne of Skulls. So this is his old miniature. I do have his new miniature, and I'll have a story to tell about it when I show it off, based on what I discovered when I opened it. Didn't do an unboxing or anything on that order, because it's a bunch of old miniatures. But anyway, to finish off, I painted up, or rather I obtained and painted up, the Green Lantern Corp release for the DC Universe game. So this goes with, they released a new Green Lantern. Did I say Green Arrow there? They released a new Green Lantern at the same time, although it's on the big base, and it's probably the worst example of them doing a big base where it's utterly pointless because Green Lantern is so small, and they just fill the base with nothing. So it looks stupid. The old one does just as well. But anyway, that means we can have a big old Green Lantern versus Yellow Lantern war in the future. So I'm not familiar with too many of them. This is Drew Gardner. That's Kilowog, I think. Chip Salazar, I think, or something like that. And her name I don't remember at all. Use the same colours across all of them, obviously, so I'll just show them off as I talk. They all had Warp Lightning as their main colour, with Black Templar for the black parts of their various costumes, and a dry brushing of Nurgling Green over the top, as well as, I think it was a non-oil wash I used. I probably should have used the green wash, the Biotan wash, but I didn't. But I probably should have. So it came out a little bit darker than I would have liked, but that's why I also tried to do a little bit of edge highlighting with the Nurgling Green on the, like lots of them are standing on green energy. There's only 2 exceptions. So that's kind of what I did to that. Try and make it look a little bit brighter. and she's just hanging on by a little leg as well. But she's surprisingly like not wobbly, like nowhere near as wobbly as say Storm in Crisis Protocol. Chip is a squirrel man. Again, not very familiar with him, but he's a squirrel man with a Green Lantern ring, so he's got barely any HP, but he's got really high base defenses, and he has a role called Annoying, where you can draw the attention of anyone you're fighting with. I don't know why he doesn't get like energy to stand on. Neither does Drew. He's standing on I don't even know what that is, honestly. A barrel, I guess? I'm not sure what it's meant to be. And he's got like energy arcing out of his ring, which is pretty neat. He looks very serious, even if he does have a ginger bowl cut. But, you know, it was the style of the time, as they say. And then finally their drill sergeant. Probably the funnest of the bunch, I would say. I had fun painting this one. And I like... well, I'm not sure if it's going to come out. The lighting is just awful this morning. There we go. I'm happy with how his face turned out. He looks so like it's a mixture of cheerful and violent. But he's ready to do like a Falcon punch with his Green Lantern ring. So yeah, exactly the same colours used for him, but he has enough recesses and muscle lines that I feel like it worked best on him with the style I was using. And I locked into his face looking good. Oh yeah, for his skin tone and for his skin tone, I used not Fire Slayer, not Guilliman Flesh, the other flesh tone that I can't remember the name of. That's the one I used. And yes, that is my dog crying because I've been ignoring a ball on the floor for approximately 45 seconds. Only a single one this time. She then runs to the door and doesn't even look. She looks where it's going to get thrown. She's that impatient. But that is going to do it for what's been painted. I know it was kind of focused on just 2 games mostly, both of which don't have huge player bases. Well, 3 really, because I don't think Don't Look Back has that big a player base either. But there's what I felt like painting, rather not playing. Next time though, you'll definitely see some Core Clash finally getting painted up. There will be some more Batman stuff, probably. Hopefully some Fallout stuff. And on that note, before we finish up, I did say I had a story. I assembled the Securitron box from New Vegas. So for instance, I haven't washed them yet or whatever, but this is Yes Man, who you'll know who he is if you've played Fallout New Vegas. You get another Securitron with him that you do up like the upgraded one that has like the missile launchers and whatnot. I bought this a while ago in preparation for returning to the game, and unfortunately when I opened the box to finally assemble them, I discovered the other one was snapped. And I tried, but because they're so top heavy, super glue just wouldn't secure it. So I decided to improvise, and with the other one I decided to create an objective marker instead to use in a Season 2 mission I have in mind for Fallout Wasteland Warfare, because if you can see this, that's snapped off completely, it's uneven. I tried super glue, but they're totally top heavy and it just wouldn't work, unfortunately. So, as I say, I have improvised. I guess you could technically still sort of use them, but I have an idea in mind for what to use them for in a Season 2 storyline. So if you've been enjoying Season 1, which has like 3 episodes left to go, I am already formulating ideas for Season 2, and this is going to factor in at some point. The only other thing I forgot to mention is in relation to Fallout Wasteland Warfare, which also might show up in the next painting update, is that I was doing some cleaning and I discovered a while back I bought a bunch of like a bits box of Fallout Wasteland Warfare stuff back before I stopped playing it for a while, as I bend over to grab the ball. And I lost some of the stuff from it, and I found that they'd fallen down the back of a cupboard. And to my surprise, I discovered that there was a full box of unassembled Protectrons and Assaultrons. So, thanks to doing a little bit of early spring cleaning, I actually discovered I've got a bunch more robots I can paint up as well for Wasteland Warfare, which have just been sitting hidden down the back of a cupboard for approximately 2 years. So I was very happy to stumble across these, because that means I can do some robot stories as well, which will be fun. Maybe track down the Mechanist miniature, do something with that. Percolating ideas for Season 2. But anyway, I'm rambling again, so thank you for watching this video. If you want to show me what you've been painting, feel free to do so on Twitter. The link is below the video. It's also at GamerEND if you just want to type it in that way. Show me what you've been painting. I don't mind if it's a game I play or otherwise. I just like seeing painted miniatures. I hope you do too. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again in roughly 2 weeks for another update with some more stuff to show off. Until then, thank you again, and ta-ta for now. I'm going to go throw a ball somewhere now.